But literally 2 seconds earlier, Hallie was like, this is god awful. And Ashley was like, shut your whore mouth. You're wearing that bridesmaid's dress. Hello, and welcome back, everyone, to a special bonus edition of Hate Spinnerbait. Hate Spinnerbait, the podcast where we hate spinnerbait, but we love LARPers. And I'd like to make it abundantly clear, we love LARPing, and we do not love Civil War reenactors, okay? LARPing is 100% cooler than Civil War reenactments. That is my piece on that. That'll all make sense really soon, y'all. I promise. Yeah. Hi, everyone. We're back. Special Wednesday edition because, as you mentioned on yesterday's episode, we really thought, isn't it cute that we thought, like, y'all know how much we like to go on tangents. Adorable. But the two of us legitimately thought that we could get this done in an episode. And then we realized we had more to say about how to deal than we thought. So we're back, special Wednesday edition. I'm Bethany. With me, as always, is Michael Ann. I don't know, Michael Ann, should I make you recap what we've watched so far? Since I always make you recap what we've read so far.
I feel like we might as well. Okay, so a little recap for you guys. We met Hallie on the day that her parents' divorce went through and the day her sister Ashley gets engaged to her boyfriend Lewis. Everyone's very excited about that, but mom is pretty upset about the divorce. And then, surprise, dad announces his elopement on the radio to his much younger girlfriend. They elope in an absolutely insane wedding.
Yep.
Hallie is dating. No, let me back up. Scarlett's boyfriend, Michael, passes away in front of our eyes. We see his corpse.
Traumatic.
And then Hallie starts dating his best friend, Macon, who is just as swarmy as he is in the books. And then where we left off was Scarlett found out she was pregnant and dropped that news on her mom. And her mom said, "Thank God you told me in time," aka abortion time.
Getting an abortion. But little does she know.
Last time we hear about that.
Yeah, I know. I like that in the book. And again, maybe this is, I actually just finished listening to one of my clan and I's favorite podcasts, You're Wrong About, which
about the movie rating system.
Yeah, about the MPAA rating system. And exactly, glad I was like, I'm sure you've listened. But I was like, I wonder if that's like a thing because they wanted a PG-13 rating. We couldn't talk about the A word too much, you know, because like in the book, we're going there. But I'm like, I very am curious, especially because that's just like so in the forefront of my head, having just finished listening to that. I was like, I'm very curious if because this was rated PG-13 that we couldn't talk about abortion too much, potentially, because that would go against, you know, like we live in a society, and the society that we live in is hella Christian, and that goes against Christian morals or whatever. Also, though,
ever since 1972 or something stupid like that.
You know, just something silly like that. But big shout out, though, everyone in the midterms for voting in your state to keep abortion. Sorry, this is already random tangents aside, but speaking of abortion, real proud of y'all.
Basic human rights, baby.
Like, get it, Kentucky. It's not often we get to praise Kentucky. But here, yeah, I'm proud of y'all. Good work, Kentucky. But yeah, so I wonder if that's why we don't really get too much as the abortion of it all. It's like, we don't get a lot into the head of Scarlett, which I understand. It's a movie. We don't have as much time. But again, maybe if we took some screen time away from like all the other hubbub, we could have actually gotten to the heart of the story, which is Hallie and Scarlett. But, whatever. We don't really get to hear about Scarlett's kind of decision making, but she keeps that baby. She sure does keep that baby, which is how it works in the book. But we don't really get to ever hear how she comes to that conclusion, which is sort of interesting. But one of the things you lose in film adaptation, I guess.
All right, so I think my rental will probably expire in like the next 45 minutes, but I'll just re-rent it. Don't care.
All right. You're like, whatever. I'm made of money. I will spend $3. Just kidding. Michael is not made of money. She's so loaded. Look at us. These are the reasons. Again, we will not be able. Also, quick random shout out while you're checking out that rental, making sure it's up there. My mother, big fan of the show, as we all know. Shout out to Mom, Jackie. Hey. The other day she goes, just so you know, you can own a house one day. And I was like, that's really sweet, Mom. And I like, we were mostly joking when we talk about it on the show, but sometimes, yes, I generally worry. And she's like, you don't have to sell a loved doll. Like, you can do it. You can own a house one day. And I was like, thanks for having faith in me, Mom. So thanks, Mom, for having faith in me.
Your mom's so sweet and cute. I love that.
She is. She's a very lovely woman who I love very dearly. And she texted me nice things about the last episode too, and was like, that's right, your mom will always be there for you, because I was like crying about how much I love that moment at the end of Someone Like You. Yeah, my mom live texts me when she listens to our podcast. Everyone, be jealous. It's very nice. We're like straight up Lorelai and Rory Gilmore, except for the fact that my mom had me at, not as a teenager. Kidding.
Yeah.
And also she doesn't drink coffee at all. So she can't be Lorelai Gilmore. I, on the other hand, literally live off of coffee. So I think maybe I'm Lorelai and maybe she's Rory. It's reverse. It could be.
Interesting.
Rory also.
I'll be Paris.
Oh my God, you'd be such a good Paris. Yes. I love it. Anywho, back to how to deal now that we've cast ourselves as Gilmore Girls, which is also something that's very important to us.
It is. We will bring it up more. I promise you that. So then in the next scene, jumping back in, we are at the bridal store and Hallie is trying on her god-awful bridesmaid dress.
It's real bad. Can we discuss, though, how ironic it is that it is very, like, Rapunzel dress-y in a sense, which, of course, Mandy Moore will go on and she says, like, I feel like a princess in it. And I'm like, yeah, you will be. You'll be Rapunzel. And that's kind of what her dress looks like, freakishly enough. They had no way of knowing how to deal with costume people, but freaky foreshadowing to Mandy Moore's career.
All right. And then Mom comes out and she's like, I hate how I look. I'm terrible. A real downer moment for Mom. She's really struggling post-divorce. Post her husband immediately getting remarried to someone half their age.
I feel for her. I did like that Ashley is nice to her, which I did. I genuinely was like, yes, you should be nice to your mother who's feeling, going through her feelings about this. But literally 2 seconds earlier, Hallie was like, this is god awful. And Ashley was like, shut your whore mouth. You're wearing that bridesmaid's dress. So I was like, that was real quick. Like, she basically is like, I don't care about your thoughts and feelings, little sis. You're wearing this dress. And she's like, oh, yeah, whatever. I feel like a princess. And then the mom comes out. She's going through it. She feels a little frumpy. I think a lot of people, Mother of the Bride outfits are not the cutest. So I understand why sometimes moms are like, don't love this. So yeah, she's feeling a little frumpy. And Ashley very nicely is nice to her. But I was like, why couldn't you show some of that love to your sister as well? Like 2 minutes earlier when she was complaining about her dress. But, whatever. See how it is, Ashley.
So deep breath. In and out. The next scene we have here is the very big disappointment that is
Oh
Steve.
My God, seriously. Because we love, you all listen to us for like 3 episodes, basically talk about how much, it may have been all 4 episodes that we talked. And as they increased and we went through Someone Like You, our love for Steve grew and grew. And we just started calling him Vlad because he became more and more Vlad. And I loved him and the LARPing and him being himself and him being this weird, dorky guy. And the two of us who love weird, dorky guys were like, yes, ladies, find yourself a weird, nerdy guy. And then they go ahead and turn around. He's still wearing a sword. Did appreciate that there was a sword. But they go ahead and turn him around into a Civil War reenactor. Why? Why was that necessary? Why was that change made? I feel personally attacked by that change being made by the screenwriter who had no reason to make Steve, who was amazing, into a Civil War reenactor. And again, another confusing thing, as I stated, yesterday's episode about, I think they live in New Jersey in this movie. I am not certain. Here's the thing about the Northeast. So. They are not the ones who do the Civil War reenactments. So strange that I'm supposed to believe that these people might live in New Jersey, but this guy does Civil War reenactments. But anyways, Steve was a big letdown. Yeah.
He was. And, he's also not a very enthusiastic Civil War reenactor. Like, he just says later, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot I was even wearing that. That's just something I do sometimes.
That's something I do.
It's like, how weird. Well, then why did we see it at all? Why did we see it at all?
Why did that even? It literally is brought up one time when he's helping her like get the Coke or whatever out of a vending machine, and we never go back to it. So it's like, what the point? As opposed to, which again, now suddenly he's with Hallie's mom, which I understand because she's divorced in this, and we wanted to, I don't know, I guess say that love can still be out there.
Yeah,
but yeah, all that
shit about Scarlett and her mom.
Right, evidently not in this movie. They're like, we don't have time for that. But I was like, I don't understand what the point of that was at all. Like, it's such a big part of his character in Someone Like You. Like, he is, that was Mike sneezing. You can hear it all the way from the other room. He is that loud. It's so, oh my God, last night after we finished recording and we went to do our other show that Mike and I do with a couple of our friends, he literally could not stop sneezing for the first 5 minutes, and they muted our mic because it's just so obnoxious. But also it's kind of comical. But anyways, God, sneezing aside, I just don't get what the point of making him at all. Because in Someone Like You, it makes sense. It's this weird, quirky thing about him, and it's the fact that he becomes more and more comfortable and more himself, and it's that wonderful image of that community coming together at the end. You have these LARPers and you have teenagers who just came from prom and they're all there in the hospital. Him being a Civil War reenactor is brought up once, never again. And so it's you didn't have to do that. You could have just had him be this nice guy, Steve, who came into the mom's life. What was the point of it? What was the point of that?
Mm-hmm.
It was weird. So I'm either go full LARP or don't do it at all. That's my thoughts on that.
Yep, 100%. Look at him. He's just a little poop. So disappointed about this. Ooh, the next scene, though. We get to meet Grandma Hallie, who's...
Yeah.
I can't say enough good things about Grandma Hallie. She
so good.
Is not the same as the book, which is fine.
Yeah.
She's totally different, but... she's totally different in such a nice way that I just love it. Smoking pot in the bathroom. Like
both Grandma Hallies, I like book version a lot, but I also like movie version. And that cannot be said for a lot of characters in this, in this film adaptation. Mm-hmm. Most people, I'm like, wow, I really loved you in the book and I do not love you in this movie. So I was really happy to see that even though, I agree she's very different, I actually thoroughly enjoyed she just is smoking some pot, showing up to the big fancy Lewis's parents, dinner, being her true authentic self, being high, being hysterical. I loved her.
Oh my gosh. When they're outside his parents' house, she gets distracted by the bush and she's like, Hallie, look at this bush. It could be a textile. And I understand why Grandma is behaving like this. But Hallie puts a little piece of the plant in her mouth. Now, it's a bush, people, okay? Mm-hmm. This is a very standard new northern bush, okay? And she just rips a little piece off of it and puts it in her mouth for some reason.
Yeah, I was like, is Hallie high? Did she hotbox in the bathroom with Grandma? What happened there? Because Grandma is a cute little old lady who, you know, is a little old and senile, plus the fact that she has been smoking. I like that. I think Allison Janney's character is like the cannabis. Mother, have you been smoking the cannabis again? And I just thought that was like a very funny way to ask if your like mom's had some weed. But yeah, it makes sense why she is being crazy. But then Hallie, you're like, why is she? She shouldn't be eating plants. She's not high.
Right.
But
exactly.
she does. Yeah, I thought the same thing when I watched it. I was like, that's weird. I don't know why she's acting like she is high as well.
I have so many things to say about this dinner. So many.
Is it about the very stereotypical, you know, whatever housemaid keeper who also raised their children thing? Because all of that was real awkward for me. I was like, oh, I'm getting some bad vibes here.
They give me old Southern money, and you know where old Southern money comes from. Okay. And their maid / nanny, who has no lines, by the way, not a single line, does not speak a single word, is black.
Yep.
It's like, what the hell are we doing here? Also, I think it's so funny that she's like, oh yeah, this woman raised our son. And Hallie's mom says, oh, I didn't know you were a working mother.
Yeah. I did.
You?
I liked that line a lot. That was pretty great. It was like such a good like sly dig at her a little bit. That whole scene, yeah, that's just is very awkward. Just it's very. And I understand that this movie came out, I guess now at this point, almost 20 years ago. Which oh god, I'm old.
Oh my god!
But still, this movie came out in 2003, y'all, and it was okay to just like put a black woman in a maid's outfit and have her be like, yeah, here's our lady and she cooks for us and she raised our children. And I was like, that didn't raise any red flags. And no one was like, oh, this is yikes. This is big yikes. They put that movie was in theaters and we all were just like, yep.
There's so many movies and TV shows and media from the early 2000s that you look back on. Well, we talked about this last episode with the Chinese imagery. It's like, yikes, people. We were not anywhere. We were not anywhere good back then. I'm certain in like 10 years, we'll look back at things we did in 2022 and we'll be like, how in our Lord's year 2022 did we think that was okay to do? But I don't know. Hopefully one day we'll get to a point where we're like, all right, okay, I'm watching this media, I'm doing this thing, and I feel okay. I feel like this is not cringe, but we are not there yet. We are definitely still looking at times in our own. We were alive for this. We were preteens, whatever, children, preteens, basically, in 2003, watching this movie. And yeah, that's it's not a scene that holds up well now. That's all I'm gonna say about that. I also want to mention that for dinner, they are eating squab. And if you don't know what squab is, don't worry, I Googled it. It is an immature domestic pigeon. So these rich people, these rich Southerners, fed these people baby pigeon.
Yeah.
Cooked baby pigeon.
Well, you know, rich people, it's like the weirdest things. Like if you would go over to a house where someone was supposedly like, below the poverty line or was a middle-class person even, that would be like, what the hell? But when it's a rich person, it's like, this is a delicacy because we're rich and we're feeding you baby pigeon. But yeah, if it was like a normal household, you'd be like, look at these poor people feeding us baby pigeon. Like, and that's, I don't like that double standard. Rich people, if you do it, you get away with it and it's a delicacy. No, no, it's weird.
It's disgusting. It's disgusting, period. Do not stop eating baby pigeons. What the hell?
All the things.
Full-grown pigeon at least. For
eating. Yeah, we have all seen pigeons out in the wild. What has never in my life have I looked at a pigeon and been like, wish I could eat that? And definitely, I wish I could eat its youth. No, never. Pigeons are disgusting. I don't want anything to do with that. No, thank you.
And the pigeon has to be under 4 weeks old for it to be considered a.
Yeah,
it's like legit a tiny baby pigeon that they just...
I didn't even get that much food off of something that little. That's wild. That's wild.
I know. It actually looked pretty big. Like, obviously, they're probably...
Yeah.
It's probably not accurate, but it looks...
they actually used in this scene, but...
Right.
It looks like a decent chunk of meat, and I don't feel like something that's 4 weeks old would be that much meat. So, inaccuracy is how to deal. Just kidding. But
I'm going to have to Google that.
This is why I'm a vegetarian, everyone. I don't want anything to
Are
do
you?
with baby pigeons.
Why did I not know you were a vegetarian?
It is something that shocks people literally on the daily. I guess because I just like don't go around like preaching the good word all the time because I like don't want to be that person. You know, like the joke is always like, oh, like you're in a room with a vegan for like 2 minutes and you'll know. Which I'm not vegan, I'm vegetarian, but still. So I don't know. I think I have like a complex about it. So I like try to like not be annoying about it, I guess. I also mostly became vegetarian for environmental. Again, I am going to get on my soapbox for a minute. For environmental reasons, because I did so much research into how, you know, it's good for the environment, which again, I know I'm just one little person and I can only make so much difference. But, you know, as Emma Watson once said, you know, if not me, who? So why not do my part? So yeah, it all started because, again, this is me being savvy supplemental. We talked, I think, once an episode about how much we were like obsessed with our nieces and nephews, but I was in the delivery room when my second oldest nephew, Sawyer, was born. So at this point, I had a nephew who was a few months old, who was living in upstate New York at the time. And then my sister who lives in Florida, had my nephew, Sawyer, and I was in the delivery room. And I put that little baby in my arms. And I was like, I want my nephews to have a planet to grow up in. Yeah. And so I was like, I'm going to do my part. And so I gave up meat because, again, just to be clear, everyone, I didn't really like it. So it was a super easy decision for me. And I'm not judging anyone who does eat meat. Rock on with your bad self. It was just my personal choice. And I'm telling you, if you would have held that cute baby in your arms, you too would have been like, I will do anything I can to make sure that this baby has a nice planet to live in.
Yeah, that's my biggest thing with climate justice and gun reform is like, I want my nieces and nephews to grow up in a good world. I unfortunately do not have the willpower to give up chicken nuggets or cheeseburgers, and I don't think I ever will. Even though I know how bad it is, I know. But what me and Andrew try to do is like 3 days a week we'll do meatless.
My big concern at the end of the day is for humanity, and I do think it's terrible that the things that, you know, my people, vegetarians and vegans eat, and we're worried about, you know, not hurting an animal, but then some poor child somewhere is suffering to harvest this stuff. So that is something you have to pay attention to.
Okay, so Hallie goes to the bathroom because she got that baby pigeon under 4 weeks of age on her lap. And she goes into the bathroom and she opens a jar. And what does she find? It's a jar of cigarettes.
Who just have rich people, I guess? Is that a thing? Do rich people just have jars of cigarettes in their bathroom? And what would make you decide to smoke it? Because she seems like she has not smoked before, because she goes to light it up and is immediately like, like it's her first time. So what would make you think that that's a good idea? Choices were made. Smoke alarm obviously goes off. But also, why... If there's a smoke alarm and the smoke alarm is going to go off, again, why did you just put complimentary cigarettes in your jar in your bathroom? I don't know. But it does lead to...
Another strange thing is she opens the window in the bathroom, right? Okay, so the window's open.
Yeah.
And while all of this stuff is going on and there's chaos and everyone's running to the bathroom, a dog just jumps through the window into the house? Confused about that as well. What do you mean this dog is just jumping into the window?
Is it their dog? Is it a neighbor's dog? Like, where did this dog come from? Why was it outside when the whole family was inside eating dinner? That's strange. Like, who was watching
to jump through the window? Like, what's happening here? And
then it humps.
Yeah, that was
Alice and Janie's leg, I believe.
Yes, he does. He humps Lydia's leg, actually. Also, it looks like the window just opens up into another part of the house, which was also confusing to me. I didn't understand the setup of this house at all.
I think rich people and their weird rich people houses. We are confused. 100%. We cannot relate.
No, not at all. So then Ashley starts a fight with Lewis in the car about not standing up for her, and Grandma Hallie is chuckling to herself the entire time. I aspire to be both book Grandma Hallie and movie Grandma Hallie. I love them both.
Same. I think that's a good aspiration, honestly. I think we should all be a little bit more like Grandma Hallie.
We should. And then another Megan scene.
Ugh.
I'm just not invested in this relationship at all.
I love how much we're both just like, ugh, whatever. We'll get to it in a little bit. There is one scene where I thought that the movie did a better job with Macon than the books did, which I don't really want to say a better job, because I guess just the movie and the book are going for two very different things, obviously. Like, the book is not wanting you to root for him. He's not the point. Like, he's not the point of the story in the book. The movie, I guess, is wanting us to root for them. And there is one little bit that they did that I was kind of like, okay, you're kind of making him slightly redeemable. Not really, but you're kind of making him slightly redeemable. So if the point of the movie is for me to root for this relationship, which, just to reiterate, neither of us do, neither of us care, you've mostly shown it through montage, I will give them credit on this one scene, which we will be getting to. I also think it's interesting that, like, the movie with, like, the sex stuff, he's not as much of a dick. He's not great, but the point isn't so much her being pressured. The point is more, again, because for some odd reason they decided to make the storyline that, like, she doesn't believe in love and she's afraid to be with him because she might actually have feelings for him or whatever. And so, like, the sex at the New Year's kind of ends up turning into that. I know we're, like, not quite there yet, but just obviously they have the little, like, Christmas time thingamabob. I think is that where we're at the moment.
They're still at the dam. I also want to mention, in this scene, she has a red scarf on, and the whole time I was just thinking about the All Too Well 10-minute version, which, congratulations, by the way, you got tickets to her concert. Very happy for you.
Thank you. It was an effort. It was a real team effort. I have to give most of the props to my friend Katie, who just went above and beyond. I'd also like to give props to her husband. Again, this is why you marry the good ones, y'all. Her husband technically got the code. The show that we wanted to go to was Atlanta, and he's the one who got the code for that because she made him, like, register for it because she was registering for another city. I also registered for Atlanta because that was supposed to be my job, was to get our tickets. I never got a code. So we're all worried about it. Katie texts me, we're saved. Her husband got a code. She's going to do it. She's got the other city she's trying for to go with another friend, and then Atlanta, which we're going together, right? So anyone out there listening, if you were there on the great Ticketmaster crash of 2022, it takes forever. It takes hours. It took us like 5 hours, I think, to get these tickets. She's texting me. It's like a war room. Like, we're very stressed out about it. We finally get through. It's a miracle that we got these tickets. I'm so excited. Like, seriously, I'm going to say this unironically, probably for the first time in my life, #blessed. But so it dawns on me that because she on her phone was under her Ticketmaster account, she had her husband's phone that entire time on, and so she could be logged under his Ticketmaster account, so she could be working. So her husband let us, thankfully, I say us, like I was there, but for me, tickets for me, use his phone for 5 hours so we could get those tickets. And I just want to give a shout out to him as well. Thank you, Katie and Christian, for making my dreams come true. But yeah, definitely. I'm going to reference Taylor Swift again as we get to a John Mayer song that will come on later. Just everyone be prepared. That's not, if you're playing along at home and you'd like to count the Taylor Swift references, there is another one coming up.
We love it. Yeah, so the next scene, they are Christmas shopping, and Scarlett's like, I want to keep the baby. And Hallie's like, hell yeah, dude, keep the baby. Rock on. So they're talking about how Hallie and Macon don't make any sense, but she's falling in love with him. And she's like, I'm not falling in love with him. I just like kissing him. Typical trope for her.
I'm jaded. I don't believe in love.
Yeah, that kind of bull crap. But they're having this whole conversation in front of the nativity scene. For some reason, that just cracks me up. They just walk away and it's just like a giant nativity scene. It cracks me up.
That is accurate. I love, they were like, how can we spell out that this is Christmas? We're just going to put up this nativity scene. It's what a weird, awkward thing. I love it. That's accurate and very funny.
And then Steve shows back up, and this is when he's like, oh, I just do Civil War reenactment like on the side for like no reason whatsoever. I have no interest in it at all. It's very casual.
Casual thing.
But he shows up to Lydia's work and gives her a bunch of roses, and he's like, go out with me. And it's pretty cute, actually.
It is. I mean, I do, like that the mom got some love. Don't get me wrong. I just wish he could have been A, with Marion, like he's supposed to be, and B, more like Book Steve. And C, most importantly, not a Civil War reenactor.
So I love the Ashley and Lewis of it all, but I do wish that they just stuck with Someone Like You.
Yeah.
And didn't do That Summer at all, because I feel like it's getting a little messy combining That Summer elements into it.
Oh, 100%. Yes. Yeah, I think it definitely would have been better if they just would have straight up adapted Someone Like You. Or straight up adapted That Summer. Of the two stories, I do think that Someone Like You is stronger, and I would gravitate more toward that. Obviously, y'all heard us gush about it, so that would be my pick, but that's just me.
Same. And then we see Hallie and Macon getting hot and heavy on her living room couch right in front of her front door. Mm-hmm. The balls.
Yeah.
The balls.
Hallie does seem way more into it in the movie than she is in the book. Like, she seems very comfortable to just be like, yeah, let's have sex. Like, she doesn't seem to be doubting it. So on one hand, I'm happy for her that she's just going out for, what she wants. On the other hand, do it in your bedroom, though. Just saying, your mother could walk in at any moment, which she does.
At any moment. Steve, I had a lovely time. And then she kisses Steve. I cannot believe. And she was like taking off his pants when her mom walked in.
Yeah. Like they are disrobing when this is happening. And then when Hallie, I think I mentioned this, the other day when we were recording about the first little bit that we watched, about how I felt like a lot of her outbursts at her mother just kind of like came out of left field in this movie, because you don't get to see, I don't know, they just like don't do a good enough job kind of explaining it from Hallie's side, which like the book does very well. And so this was one of the scenes, which again, they're eating those weird chocolate things and having this conversation or whatever, that I am just like, I don't know, like I feel like you're being kind of like hard on your mom, and it's just kind of like coming out of nowhere, Hallie, but
yeah.
It's just,
well, she like freaks out about her mom like being mad at her for like disrobing her boyfriend on the living room couch. Like,
and it's like, I don't know, your mom might have a point. She might have a point. And she also is like, like the beginning of the conversation kind of sounds like the mom doesn't even know Macon's name, like this boy. And then at the end of the conversation, which again, I was like, it's a little sloppy of you movie. She's like, you're not going to let me, I have New Year's Eve plans with Macon, which makes it sound like she has talked to her mother about these plans and she has talked to her mother about Macon. But the beginning of the conversation made it sound like the mom barely knew who this naked boy on her couch was. So I was like, I'm confused, movie. Is she supposed to have talked to her mom before about Macon, or is this completely coming out of left field for her mother that a boy would be on her couch half naked? I'm not sure.
Yeah, impossible to say. It's a little convoluted. And then she's like, I hate Dad that he did this to us. Which I don't really know why. That's relevant.
Right. Yeah, I'm like, in this exact moment, I'm not really sure where that fits into things, Hallie, but okay, I guess.
Also, we are seeing in the next scene, it's New Year's Eve, Hallie is with Scarlett, and Hallie sneaks out to go hang out with Macon at that New Year's party.
Which I thought she was supposed to be grounded, so I guess she's grounded, but she can go to Scarlett's house.
Yeah. I guess so. Probably because her parents are at that party, I assume.
Yeah, true.
I don't know how stuff like that works. I didn't have any close friends whose parents were friends with my parents. That was not a thing for me. Yeah, Scarlett doesn't talk her out of it at all.
Yeah, they don't have
She's
that.
"Hell yeah,
Like the
girl."
whole being pressured into sex thing is like completely not a thing in this movie, which is fine, but it's not fine because like that's not. I just was very curious as to why they decided to change that. I guess like we're not going to do that whole storyline again. I guess because it's like they want you to like Macon, and that would make him very much not likable. So they're like, we're still gonna have them like let them do it, at the New Year's Eve party, but we're gonna kind of change the whole her being talked out of it or her having doubts about it, all of that.
Yeah.
Which the New Year's Eve party, I feel like this house is not as gross as the book is described, but I do think it's weird that they just like go into some random, like the first thing they do is just go into a room and like lay down on some rando's bed, and there's other people there, like Elizabeth Gunderson is there, and they're like doing things, and she lost her earring or whatever, and I was like, how is this like romantic? Like this is so, I don't know, like skeevy. That grossed me out.
Yeah. I mean, been there, and it's high school parties. I mean, you have to assume that Macon goes to this guy's house a lot. I mean, if you're reading it, if you read the books, then you come here. He goes there a lot. He knows which room is this guy's room. Oh, he like does pull a bong out, but you can't really see it. You can't really tell that it's a bong. Oh yeah, there it is.
Yes. Well, I'm a little surprised we could see that. Usually you can't see the old drugs in a PG-13.
It's just the top of it, but I don't know what else it could be.
It's got to be a
Plus,
bond.
then he's like,
I guess because they don't show them like, sitting there all having a little time, that it's okay. I don't know. Interesting.
And then he's like, let me show you my ferret, bro.
Yeah, I've noted that because I was like, what? What a weird, like, is that a thing you do? I guess if you're just like a high teenage boy at a party, yeah, who wants to see my ferret? Not a line that I thought would be a line of dialogue in this movie. And yet, it was. And this is where we then start getting like hot and heavy because the other two, I guess, I don't know, slowly but surely make their way out of the room. And then all of a sudden I went, John Mayer? Because they picked John Mayer for the sex scene. And I'm like, I already wasn't into the sex scene because like, Macon. And I read the book and it's terrible. And I hate this for her. And I guess in the movie, she's kind of okay with it until she isn't, but for totally different reasons in the movie for some odd reason. But I was like, way to make it even worse. Icky John Mayer, who two wonderful songs that have been written about him and his god-awful gross ways. But yeah, I was like, ew. John, that was their choice. John Mayer for the sex scene. I'm like, way to make it even worse than it already was movie.
Elizabeth Gunderson leaves the room. Yeah, literally. Elizabeth Gunderson leaves the room after they have that straight from the book conversation, like word for word from the book conversation about Scarlett being pregnant. Well, not word for word because she's like, my mom's bookkeeper. My mom's the bookkeeper at the doctor's office.
Then like the rest of it, which again, this is what they decide to keep in from the book, like the weirdest things.
Also, like, your mom told you confidential information about one of her employer's patients?
Yeah.
That's strange.
That's not allowed. That's a little strange. I also like that at this point, I mean, in the book, everyone already knew about Scarlett by the new year.
Yeah.
Like that was common knowledge. And in this, it's like in a private conversation in the bedroom with Elizabeth Gunderson, we're talking about the fact that her mom's a bookkeeper, sort of thing. So I was like, it's not like common knowledge around the school yet, I guess, in the movie. Also, there is no Cameron. Sad. Love him.
I know. That was a real bummer. Yeah, the sex scene's like uncomfortable, honestly. Well, it's not even a sex scene. They get very close, but they don't end up doing it. Hallie just like randomly gets up and walks away. Or runs away, I mean. It's not really explained.
Into the snow. And I was like, again, we have the countdown. We have her like running to the outside, which is from the book, but like her whole reasoning for it and their whole conversation on the ride home is vastly different than the book. And she's all like, this is when she gives her whole like Megan is mad, you can tell, but he's not like as much of a douche about it as he is in the book. And she gives her whole weird like, he's like, just tell me for once, just tell me what you like really mean or whatever speech. And she's like, I just might really like you, and that's why I can't have sex with you, or whatever. And I'm like, well, that's not how that worked in the book at all, but okay. All right. Also, again, as we went on many a rant about, you know, don't do this if you're not ready. Don't ever let a guy pressure you about sex and stuff. But this is another thing that a weird thing that the movie wants me to believe. Because again, like we said, we are a sex positive podcast. If you're feeling it, you want to do it right on. It seems like the two of them are very much into this. It seems like Megan wants a relationship with her. Like, he has not given any indication. Mind you, the movie has not spent a lot of time on their relationship, but he has not given any indication that he is not interested in her and not interested in a relationship with her. So I think it's very strange of her, for her reasoning to not want to have sex with him, to be that she might have feelings for him. And I was like, that's awesome. You're two consenting people who both like each other and you want to have sex. Rock the hell on. Do it. So like the movie reasoning is so dumb. Like the book, it's like she's only doing it because she's afraid that he's going to leave her and she's being pressured into it and whatever. And then she has a freak out and gets sick. And then the movie, it's like, what is the problem exactly? The two of you like each other. The two of you seem to want to do this. So we're not doing it because movie logic.
Right. She has her weird baggage from her parents being divorced.
Yeah. Or whatever
they're deciding. Also, in this scene, like another really important thing I think in the book was and somebody pointed this out to me actually, is like the way that he drives her around in the book is a form of abuse, because she's like trapped, it's scary, it's dangerous, he's kind of all over the road kind of thing. It's like he's intentionally scaring her. And in the movie, it's not the same thing. And it doesn't even make, like, how did you end up on the other side of the road? I guess he was just, no, if he was drunk, they would have arrested him. I have no idea.
Yeah, like this car accident scene, the way it's shot, like the way they filmed it, it's not like, it is very much like, how did they end up hitting that tree? I'm confused. And it's like they had to, not they didn't have to, because there's a lot of things leave out from the book, but it's like they clearly very much wanted to lead to New Year's, her freaking out, them getting into this car accident. But the car accident is very convoluted in the movie, I feel like. I'm like, I'm not really sure. Like this other car, like, they're on like a desolate road. This one other car comes out of nowhere. And then does that car like drift into their lane? So he tries to avoid, I don't know. It's weird. It's very weird.
Yeah, it is weird. I like that both of her parents are there when she wakes up, and they both like go to her. They're like, oh, are you okay?
They're much nicer than I feel like they are in the book. Like in the book, I was like, wow, harsh. Your daughter's got in a car accident. Like maybe wait till she's at home to lay into her. But they're like, we're just glad you're okay. You know, she's like, you had to leave your party. I'm so sorry, whatever. And they're like, none of that matters right now. Like, we're just okay that our daughter is okay, which seems way more like the parental response that I would imagine. I do like, which this is one of the lines I remembered from the movie even before rewatching it the other day. But the whole, some people fall into love, I had to crash into it. I am like, damn, that's a good line. It's a good line. I don't support this love story, but damn it if that isn't a good line.
That was a good line. That was a really good line.
So I'm going to give the screenwriter a tip of the hat on that one. That's good.
Oh, and then Scarlett and Hallie. So Scarlett's not even at the hospital as well. And then in the next scene, they are building the crib. And it looks like they're building it wrong, if I'm being honest. And they're like, oh, Macon hasn't called me and he hasn't been at school all week because he can apparently just miss weeks on end of school and still.
I still am very baffled by this. Very baffled. Also, when he approaches her in the school, can we briefly talk about that? Because I have questions. Namely, I'm glad that she gave him the cold shoulder because he 100% deserved it. Because, yeah, he just up and disappears for a week. And that wasn't there when she woke up and disappears. That whole part is pretty similar to the book. But when he approaches her at school, he is randomly holding a t-shirt, like a white t-shirt, as if he's like wanting people to sign it, and a bunch of pens, potentially gel pens, because it was 2003. So I'm guessing they were probably gel pens. And I'm like, why? Why is he holding that? Why? It's not like the end of the school year. We are in January. Like, it is clearly established that we have just entered the new year. We are in January in the school year. So why does he have a rolled up white shirt and a bunch of pens? Like, he's going to have people sign it. It's just a weird, I was so distracted by it in the scene. It's all I could like notice.
And he pulls it out. When does he pull it out? I don't know when he like doesn't even they like at some point in their conversation pulls out the pens in the shirt.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering like, I wonder if there's like a deleted scene that explains that. We'll
I have to hope so, because I'm like, what a weird prop to have someone just randomly be holding in that. So like, what a weird is there like a deleted scene where he's like asking her to sign it and she's giving him the cold shoulder, and so then he's just awkwardly standing there holding it? I don't know, but he like approaches her all like dippity doo dah. I haven't missed a week of school or anything and haven't dropped off the face of the earth, and she's all like, the hell, dude, here I am with the cast and whatever, and I haven't heard from you. And all I can think about is the fact that he is randomly holding a shirt and a bunch of pens. And I'm like, who decided that? Who gave
and they don't that? I rewound it a little bit, and the pens don't even look like pens that you would write. Like, you need Sharpies for that.
Yeah, if you're like writing on fabric. I'm like, you could not actually sign anything on that t-shirt. But yeah, he's got like a whole handful of pens, different colors, different option pens. No idea why.
Oh, and then we get probably my favorite scene in the whole movie. I'm not saying a lot, honestly. Drunk Ashley. Hallie comes home that night, and Ashley is passed out against the door. She has it looks like little plastic penises in her hair, stuck all over. She's super drunk, walking all over the place. Hallie's helping her out. And this is when Hallie finds out that her mom sneaks out to be with Steve on Friday nights.
Again, I know we said we wish they would have just like straight up adopted someone like you, but I do like some of my favorite moments are like I do like the sisterhood relationship, and I did like that they did touch on that in the movie, and you did get those kind of sister feels that we got from reading that summer. So I did appreciate. I think honestly my favorite scenes in this movie are like when it's Hallie with her family, I guess, like when it's like her and her mom, or with Grandma Hallie, or with Ashley. I like the Ashley Lewis stuff, which again is kind of shocking to me. So those are like my favorite bits. And I wish we could have gotten more Scarlett, probably less Megan, but I did like all of and I like the next morning when Lewis comes in and the wedding is off and the drama of it all.
I love it. And it like in the book, this scene, I was like, ew, Lewis, you suck. But in the movie, it comes off way more like cute, innocent, kind of like hurt. Like we made promise to each other. See,
like in the movie that he is like hurt. Like he really put this trust into her, and he did the right thing, so to speak. Like I don't want to say the right thing. There's nothing wrong with having strippers at your bachelorette party, but like the right thing, and that they promised this thing to each other. And he's like, well, I held to my vow, like you're about to do these vows to each other at your wedding. And he's like, I held to my word and you didn't hold to yours. Like, I don't know if I can trust you to get married. And I'm kind of like, wow, like actually the movie kind of helps you like see Lewis's side. And he just seems very genuinely hurt, that it's like it's somehow sweeter in the movie, I guess, than it is in the book. We were just like, this controlling wet noodle.
Exactly. So then in the next scene, Megan shows up to her house once again. He's like, I'm sorry. He has a box of chocolates, presumably the chocolates that she pours in her mouth. I don't know.
Could be.
And
this is the only time we get the candy with Macon. So I did like that they did have him bring some candy to her.
True.
So I'll give you this one, movie.
But yeah, she's basically like, Macon, not good enough, my guy. Not good enough. Not in your plaid pants and your light blue shirt. Not enough.
I did like this scene, and I did like this part is actually pretty pulled from the book. Like the fact that she's like, it's not my mom, it's me. And she stands up for herself, which I did really like. And again, he needs to be told off. And this is kind of the scene where I guess I was kind of saying like they make Macon slightly more redeemable because again, I guess we're supposed to be rooting for them in this movie where he kind of, it's a very flimsy excuse, but I am like, well, teenagers are not the best at expressing. I mean, no human is the best at expressing themselves all the time, particularly teenage boys. They're notoriously known for not being good with their emotions and stuff. We talked about when we were breaking down the book about the funeral scene that he's just walking, crying in the rain because it's the 90s and like he, like doesn't know how to deal with his emotions because he's a teenage boy. And like as a society, we didn't let him know how to deal with his emotions. But I did like that he kind of explains like his rationale for leaving her at the hospital because in the book, like it's never discussed. There's no good reason for it. And while I think his excuse is a little flimsy, like I like the fact that he brought up, because again, like I think we forget often, we think of Scarlett's grief in losing Michael, that we forget Macon's grief in losing Michael. And I did like that he was kind of like, I panicked because I couldn't lose someone else. Like I saw that you were hurt and it freaked me out. And he flashed back to Michael, which, he actually was not there, but the rest of us had to watch him die. And I was like, you know what? Like that, I will give the movie credit on this one. Like I thought that was nice that they reminded us that he too was grieving. And that was kind of his reason. Was it a good thing that he left and then disappeared for a week? Also, how is he still in school? I do not know. But I will give them credit that I like that they like kind of gave him a reason for leaving at the hospital, which kind of makes it more redeemable as opposed to in the book where you're like, there is no reason apparently.
Right. Yeah. You have to just assume.
Right.
But yeah, they do make him more redeemable in this and they do try a little bit harder to make him like a good guy in this, but I'm still not sold. And I
still just have so many questions about why is he skipping school all the time? Is he a criminal? What is his deal? And we never get any answers to any of those things, which is very strange.
No. So then we're at Dad's house. Lorna is there and she is in a satin shirt and pants combo that is covered in sunflowers. Just like a sunflower suit. And she's giving them all sorts of advice. She does. And she's giving them all sorts of advice.
Foot in her mouth real hard in this scene. Oh, yeah. It's so awkward. I got like massive secondhand embarrassment watching this scene.
Yeah, it was really bad. She's like, you need to put your foot down or, he would never leave his wife. And then she's just staring at them like,
oh yeah, that's what I love.
Lorna's like, can I give you a hug? Ashley's like, no.
No, please don't. Yeah, her face, again, the Ashley actress is pretty great. She has some like great, like her facial expression there is fantastic, I thought.
Yeah, she's really good. And then this is when we find out another thing that like ends up not mattering at all. Grandma Hallie falls and they have to go to Virginia and stay with her. And once again, Grandma Hallie is just 10 out of 10, smoking a little marijuana in the bathroom, as she says. She's obsessed with sheets. Oh, I see the Abraham Lincoln thing now. I didn't the first time I watched it, but I do now. What's that say about me?
You're like, I now do see it, Grandma Hallie. I think you're onto something. I like that the comment memory bit and the fact that her memories don't belong to herself, that part is all still in the movie because that is something that obviously I very much enjoyed from the book. So I was like, oh, happy to see that this made it in. And I liked the whole conversation that she has with Grandma Hallie outside when she kind of goes off to cool down from getting in a little bit of a fight with her mother. That's all quality content. Again, it's another scene of the ladies with each other and just, familial stuff. And I thoroughly enjoy all of that. Yeah, if the movie would have given me more of that, I guess maybe I would have liked it a little bit more. I didn't hate it.
I agree.
But I didn't love it.
It didn't. It was crazy. Yeah, Hallie just like flips out and is like, "Mom, you don't get me!" And it's like, wait, we didn't set this up enough.
We did not. I don't think we set this up enough to get the payoff that we're deserving here. But all right.
And then we get to see. Oh, and then Grandma drops this absolutely beautiful line, and maybe I'm just extra sensitive to this as of late. But she says, "First loves are never really over." Oh,
yeah, so sweet. That was good. That was a good one.
That was really sweet.
Grandma Hallie, you're so good. Right in the feels.
Right in the feels. Really hit me deep. And then we see our cutie little cutester Lewis show up at the airport.
Yes, so Lewis.
Of course, this is a post 9/11 world, so they are almost out of the airport by the time they see each other.
Yeah, you can't just run up to the gate anymore dramatically like you could in the good old days.
In the good old days. Oh, he proposes again, and she says yes. I love
like she was getting all verklempt. I was getting a little verklempt. It was it's honestly just a sweet little moment. And again, I did not know that the couple I would be rooting for the most in this movie would be Lewis and Ashley, but here we are, and I'm not mad about it.
Here we are. Me either. And then it kind of looks like on Hallie's face that she's like, oh, love does exist.
Love? Am I allowed to love?
And then we get this scene. Once again, she's rocking that mushroom shirt. We love it.
We love the mushroom shirt. Yes.
Hallie's like super pregnant. I'm not Hallie. Scarlett is super pregnant in this scene. Yeah. And she's presumably didn't get an explanation about this at all, but presumably she's going to give Macon some sort of letter that she wrote. She's holding it in her hand. Unexplained. We never read it. It's just gone to the wayside. It's like the note in the teapot.
Yes. We never get to read it.
Elizabeth Gunderson makes some sort of shady comment about how her and Macon are like dating, even though they're not. And Macon's like, we're not dating.
Elizabeth Gunderson, which is when because they haven't officially named her until that point, honestly. And I was like, so she gets to keep her name. That is her name. Okay. Because I was like, I'm pretty sure this is supposed to be Elizabeth Gunderson, but I'm not positive. Thanks, Macon, for coming through on that one and letting us know.
Seriously. Yeah. And then she runs away with the card in her hand, the letter.
Yeah, whatever what is that letter card thing that she wrote him. I want to know, what did it say? We'll never know.
And then we get to the rehearsal dinner. Lewis's speech is so cute. And I just want to make one little comment. And this goes out to my sweet, sweet cheeks, Andrew. In this little speech, he says, it doesn't matter which way the toilet paper goes. And I just want to say, thank you, Lewis. You're right. It doesn't matter which way the toilet paper goes. Some people are a little too sensitive. I'm just saying.
Oh, see, I think I might side with Andrew on this a little bit because I do have a specific way that I prefer my toilet paper. Mike and I have never disagreed about it. I think both of us have always done it this way. He doesn't accidentally do it the other. I'm an over, not an under. But both of us, we always do over. So,
yes, Andrew's an over, but sometimes
you just want to go under.
I just toss it on, I don't even think about it. Doesn't matter.
Pay attention. Oh, also the scene. So yes, we're getting to basically the wedding day. Is it the wedding day that he makes the big romantic gesture? Yeah. Okay. Another great little like sisterhood moment that I loved. Because again, there were so many good ones in that summer toward the end of the novel there. I loved at the end where Ashley is like waking Hallie up. Like I thought that scene was like super, super sweet. And she was like, I'm getting married. Like it was just like very like emotional. And the two of them were just like having a nice little moment. And that's really adorable. So A+ to that. And then basically Dad and Weather Pet, Shock Jocks, they're at the radio station and he's, saying that like, oh, my eldest is getting married and this, that, and the other thing. And he's having this whole like little like gushy dad moment. And then Macon, I don't know why he picks this, but it's a movie. So like we had to have him make a romantic gesture, I guess. He comes in to interrupt. So you basically can tell Hallie, that he loves her and that he's sorry or whatever. I don't even know. But he says a whole thing. He does. And of course, Hallie is like listening and is like, oh my goodness. Love does exist. That's my impression.
Right.
There, I guess. And so this is another weird thing. So then, of course, like, at first they're like, this guy comes storming in and they're like, security. And then he realizes that he's trying to be sweet to his youngest daughter. And so I guess he's okay with it. And then he's like, well, I'll be damned. Love is in the air. My eldest daughter getting married by youngest one. I'm going to dedicate this song to both of you. And what comes on is Wild Worlds. And I think that's a very weird thing to be like from your dad to me on your wedding day. And also my youngest, who a boy just like professed his love on my radio show. That's the song. It's a great song. But what a weird choice to dedicate to your daughter on her wedding day. I was like, that's odd. And this is where I promised yesterday that Skins would come up again. I will always think of the show Skins when the song plays because it is in the season 1 finale when Tony gets hit by a bus. And that is what I will always think of when I hear this song. That's an emotional storyline. So yeah, that's what I think of. But yeah, I was like, Wild World? That's what you would dedicate to your daughters when one of them is getting married and one of them is having, I don't know, some other kind of love moments. Strange. Very strange.
Very strange. Yeah. Yes. In my notes, I wrote, his criminal tendencies are paying off because he obviously had to break in there.
You knew how to break into a radio station. And I also like that he is presumptuous enough to think that worked, that he goes and he gets a tux to like head to the wedding. And I was like, okay, Macon, that's very like, I guess you really thought that you wooed her over with that.
Yeah. I mean, and he doesn't tuck in his tuxedo and it's messy and it's very on brand. And I also, I wasn't sold on that speech. It wasn't that good.
Yeah.
No offense to the screenwriter, but
right. But it's not
super impressed.
I wouldn't be like, yep, everything's cool now. You abandoned me for an entire week after you as a driver. We got in a car accident, but you know what? I forgive you. We're good now. No. Mm-mm. I know. I think he needed to prove himself. It's not. I've heard better speeches. That's all I'm going to say. I was not super impressed. Also, then we're all like heading to the wedding, and for some reason, Scarlett decides that she's going to walk. And I just think that was a weird thing. That was weird. And her mom's just like, yeah, okay, see you at the wedding, honey. That's strange.
9 months pregnant.
Yeah, but like, of course, let your teenage daughter who's 9 months pregnant walk by herself to the wedding. Weird.
Yeah. And of course, as it happens in movies all the time, she starts having the baby and all of a sudden that baby's got to come out.
Right now.
That's not typically how it works.
At all.
Very rarely.
It's her first child. That would be hours in labor, most likely. But of course, it's now the baby's coming right now because you have to have that dramatic moment. Oh, also cute, funny bit when they do the whole waking up in the morning thing and Hallie's like, give me a signal, of whatever. And it's like this cute little sister moment. So they get up there and she actually has like an itchy nose and she kind of starts to like go to scratch her nose and Hallie like jumps in like, do I need to say something at this wedding? And she's like, no, like we're good. And it was like, it's a stupid, like low hanging fruit comedy, but I thought it was like a cute little sister moment. I enjoyed that. But yeah, there's Hallie, who's wearing that like a weird leather cord 2003 choker necklace with, it's kind of the same bridesmaid's dress, but they have been modified now to make them look slightly less hideous. They all come in. It's a cute little moment at the wedding. Macon comes in and is like, Scarlett's having the baby right now. And Hallie runs out, which I love that she was like, go get Hallie. But she knows that her mom is also at that wedding. Like in the book, it makes more sense that like Hallie is there and the mom isn't. And the movie, it's very convoluted because like Marion goes to run out, but they've already sped off in Macon's car. Again, I still don't know if you should be in his car after the last time you were in it. You were in an accident, but whatever. With your very pregnant friend who is in labor, but okay. So they rush off to the hospital. And this is where I wrote a note about Lewis. Lewis, the MVP, because the parents, rich, uppity, Southern, old Southern money, terrible parents are all like aghast that this wedding has ended in a scene and whatever. And like Lewis tells them off. And I was like, yes, Lewis, that's my boy. Character growth done right. I'm so proud of Lewis. So that was great. Again, who knew this was going to be such a winner in this movie? But he was. He really was.
I have one thing to say about the wedding, and it's probably silly because I understand it's a movie, but all of the bridesmaids walk down the aisle at the exact same time. And two of them are standing next to each other. It looked insane. That was insane.
It looked very insane. Other weird nitpicky thing for me about the wedding is the bride, of course, being Ashley, and I assume Hallie is the maid of honor because she is standing closest to her. So as is customary in many weddings, the bride goes to hand the maid of honor her bouquet. And for some odd reason, Hallie hands her bridesmaid bouquet to the girl next in line. And I was like, that doesn't ever really happen. Like the maid of honor just holds two for a minute. And it's such a weird little nitpicky thing. But when I was watching it, I was like, is we just going to keep passing the bouquets down the line here, ladies? Or like, what's your plan here? So just thought that was kind of a weird thing. Super nitpicky. It's stupid. It's a movie, but just something I noticed.
It also didn't make sense that she was like, go get Hallie, because in the book, Hallie is the one in the delivery room, but in the movie, her mom is the one in the delivery room.
Yeah.
So I'm like, why did she rush to get her?
And in the book, it was like we established that they went to Lamaze together. They were very much a duo and a team, and the whole like pregnancy, delivery plan, whatever. But in the movie, none of that is ever addressed. So I'm like, why go rush? And then she's just standing outside the door, and you don't get the great moment of her mother coming, and you don't get any of that. You get freaking Macon and his messy tuxedo being like, do you hate me? And she's like, not you per se. And then basically gives a very like 10 things I hate about you speech, which like, I'm sorry, 10 things I hate about you did that so much better. But they do a little thing. I do kind of like that she Jedi mind tricks him back. That is cute. I'm a little bit of a sucker for that. But cute. The rest of the scene's kind of whatever. 10 things I hate about you did it better. And then they weirdly dance in the hospital. And then we get kind of a callback to the book with everyone being around like the whatever. What is that called? The nursery, I guess, when they like take the babies away from the room. I don't know. But yeah, so they're all like crowded around, but it's all just like wedding guests, and it's not nearly as cool as like the prom guests and the LARPer people all being in the waiting room. But I digress. But still cute.
Yeah.
The whole like showed up, I guess, or well, in this case, the whole wedding ceremony showed up for her like baby.
That is really cute. It shows like, it does show that Scarlett's obviously really important to Hallie and therefore really important to the rest of the family, but wish we got a little bit more. So that's it. That's the end. Macon and Hallie end up together.
Yeah.
And, sure.
Why not?
Is this movie good? It's, you know what? It's fine. I give it a solid 5 out of 10. It's just middle. I'll probably never watch it again. But
that's I would say very middle of the road. And it is, I don't want to say like disappointing because again, I'm not like really that riled up about it, but both of the books, particularly Someone Like You, which I think both of us just like really fell in love with, are so good. And it is just a disservice. Like I am like a little sad. And I don't think Sarah Destin looks back at this. You know, I follow her on Instagram and as we all do. And you know, to the lead up to Along for the Ride, she was posting a lot of memories of how to deal, because that was like the last time that she had like a movie premiere and she was part of a movie production or whatever. And it seems like she looks back on those memories very fondly. And so I'm happy that she had a good time and it went well enough for her, and she trusted the writers and the directors enough that she was comfortable enough to let her books be adapted again. Because some people do it once and are like, oh God, never again. Like that was terrible. I'm keeping my books. They're my babies. I'm keeping them as they are. She clearly enjoyed her experience enough that she optioned her books off to be adapted into more movies. So that's awesome. And I'm glad that, you know, it is a good cast and everyone did a good job with what they were given. But yeah, much like a lot of things in 2003, I think it should probably just be kept in 2003 and doesn't need to be revisited.
Yeah, I agree. You know, I agree. I'm also glad she had a good experience. I'm glad she looks back on it fondly and she doesn't have major regrets. You know, I do think they did as good as they could to combine two completely different stories into one. But
I'll still never know why that was decided. Like, what was the rationale behind that? I did some preliminary searching on the interwebs and I couldn't find too much out about it. So I'm sure it's out there somewhere. But yeah, I will give everyone involved in the movie credit for doing the best they could. Yeah, trying to combine two novels that, like you said, are very vastly different and making it into one cohesive story, especially the runtime that they had and the budget that they were probably given, which probably wasn't a lot since it was a teenage, you know, drama movie, basically dramedy movie. So yeah, kudos. And again, it looks like the director and the screener have gone on to do some awesome projects. They're still working out there. They still have careers. So it was a good launching pad for them. Many of the actors have gone on to do many good things. Again, Mandy Moore is still a household name. She's been acting for years. Allison Janney is still obviously a very, you know, she's award-winning. She's great. So obviously, you know, everyone did okay. Sarah Destin's still out there writing great novels. And like we said, is still allowing those novels to be adapted into films. So yeah, I guess overall it was a win-win. But yeah, if I'm giving this movie a grade, I'd have to agree with you. Probably like a solid 5 out of 10. Like it's fine. It's serviceable.
It's just fine is how I feel about it. But yeah, so that's it. That we did 2 whole episodes, like 3 hours
on a movie that we both just ranked as it's fine. But I think we had so much to say, A, because it's us and we went on 18 tangents, but B, because we are so passionate about the books. And I think it really could have been an interesting movie. And I'd like to reiterate, as I said on the other episode, I'm not a purist when it comes to book film adaptation. I know that they're totally 2 different mediums. I'm the type of person who, I know everyone like hated Order of the Phoenix when it came out, the movie, because it is a lot different than the book. And I was like, I don't know what y'all expected. Like it's good. Like the movie it's good. Like it's fine, you know? I think of them as very separate entities, and like many books, again, I keep using Harry Potter just because that's something that very much our generation grew up reading both the books and watching the movies, but many different things I've seen adopted into film. And I am usually very lenient when it comes to adaptations because I know that I can't imagine. It must be a very hard task. Again, Sarah Destin, please let us know if you want us to write the screenplay for any of you out there. I think we do a great job. We're here. We're available. Let us know. But I understand that it's a very hard task. So I'm not a purist when it comes, you know, but which I will say, I mean, we'll talk about Along for the Ride, the book and the movie later. I think that's probably a slightly better adaptation. We'll get around to that. But anywho, I think that's the reason, long story short, why we had so much to say about it is because we both just loved someone like you so much that this movie, you're just like, oh, I wish you could have been so much more, but it's okay. Yeah. You are what you are. And we're just going to have to deal with that.
But, boom.
Anyways, everyone, please come and join us next week. We are diving into Sarah Desmond's third novel. I just held up at 3, like you all could see me. This is an audio format. But the third novel, Keeping the Moon, like I said yesterday, we're super excited to get into that one. So please come and join us for the next novel. And please continue listening. Please follow us on Instagram. Please subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever it is that you're listening to this, wherever you find your podcast. Come hang out with us some more, basically.
Yeah, you can join our Patreon as well. All of our links are in our Instagram bio. And we'll see you next week in Colby.
I'm excited.
Bye.